Hello. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charlie, but I'll be silent for the next couple minutes just while everyone kind of gathers their stuff and kind of give them some time to join in. I forgot people can leave comments before the live stream actually starts. Probably be a good idea to just create these live streams maybe like directly after this one. That way you guys can just rack up comments or questions in the comment section for the entire week. But again, I'll give everyone at least 3, 4, 5 minutes to join in. Everyone get time to like log in, sign in, do their thing. But thanks for joining. I will be doing probably at least 2 walkthroughs using like an example site. So if you guys have something you'd prefer me to go through, I was probably going to do monetization, best practices, do the dashboard, probably something along those lines, or I was probably do something along the lines of covering, core web vitals, setting up Leap, maybe kind of covering some of the basic questions you guys might have in regards to maybe differences between site speed tests, how to use Leap, what does optimizing Leap kind of look like in the dashboard, what are some other best practices and things to look for. But again, I'll leave it pretty open-ended. If you guys say, hey, we wouldn't like that, let's do something else, let me know, and that'd be easy. But again, I'll give everyone some time to join in. I'm curious, for the few I have in here, where are you guys checking in from today? I'm currently in our Carlsbad office down here in San Diego, California. So I am Pacific Standard Time, so it's 9:03. I know some of you guys check in from all over the place. So, some of you guys, I know we've had some people from Scotland. They like to join in after work, Ireland. It's on the tail end of our UK hours, so I'm just curious where you guys are checking in from. How's it going, Jason? As you can probably see with my little name tag in the bottom corner, my name is Charlie. I'm from the Access Now onboarding team. You guys will probably see me a ton in Twist. I do touch in tickets as well a good bit, but I do primarily work in Twist. Oh, wow. Well, I guess good night and good morning. Joining in from the Philippines, that's awesome. I think it's so cool we get to connect, from so far away. We're quite literally on opposite time zones. But thanks for joining in, Jason. I haven't seen you in here before, Jason. But yeah, basically how this works is I can basically just ramble on and vent in here on basically whatever you guys want me to. But primarily I'd like to just, you guys can ask questions in the comment section, and from there I'll basically just answer them. And then, at some point when I have our people in here, I'll do like some walkthroughs, let questions stack up a good bit again, and then go from there too. Yeah, just a general rule of thumb. So you guys can ask questions down in the comment section, of course. Or again, you guys can use this time to basically offer your own insight to the program, maybe the onboarding process, the coursework, how support goes. We really just like to use this time very open-ended to whatever you guys want to cover. If you guys do want to ask specific questions to your setup in the comment section, you're more than welcome to. But again, I want you to think about the kind of maybe the information I can pull from my end. So if you do want me to look at your website, that's totally fine. I have my computer here in front of me as well, so I don't have to pull it up on the computer, basically in front of the whole entire live stream. But if you guys are comfortable with me pulling up the live stream in front of everyone, your setup in front of everyone, I can also do that and basically just walk through it, how I would on the back end if I was troubleshooting and you guys providing some support. Just real quickly, can someone write in the comment section just to make sure you guys can hear me? Because normally I have, a little volume spectrum on my microphone icon, but I'm not pulling any. So before I go on for too long, I just want to make sure you guys can hear me, correct? But U Sports HD, that's Austin, I believe. Sorry if I butchered that again. But welcome back. Hello. Someone says, "Good day, Charlie. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad to be here." I'm happy to be here as well. Yeah, I'm stalling a good bit. Excuse me. I'm just giving everyone some time to join in. But yeah, sorry we didn't run one last week. During on Thursday, I was actually out of town with family, so I was kind of doing my own thing, and Jan was actually out of town, so we decided just to run one during the UK hours. So hopefully, everyone joins in today, and we can kind of make up for it. I can do a little bit of extra time for you guys, or I'll give a little bit more detailed walkthroughs. But awesome, you guys can hear me loud and clear. Perfect. I'll start to answer some of these questions. And then maybe around 9:30, 9:45, I'll do the walkthrough. Hopefully we'll have some more people in here by then. But awesome. Cool, let's start with this first one right here. I'm curious, if I somehow violate Google's guidelines and my website is in free Ezoic hosting, what will happen then? Will the website be shut down, or will only the ads not be displayed anymore? So good question. I would first off say try to avoid the Google violation at all costs, because we will have to turn off ads indefinitely, depending on the violation, and if you can kind of clear things with Google on their end. The site will not be shut down, but in order to use our hosting, you actually do need to be using at least one feature through Ezoic. So if you're not using any features at all, we actually will send out basically, a message in an email saying, you have 30 days to basically activate X, Y, and Z features, or use a feature before we do, kind of kick your site off our hosting. I'm not sure if we've actually even done this yet. I did have one publisher that was using our hosting and not actually using any features. I simply sent them an email and say, hey, just let you know, you do need to use at least one feature. That was actually just a misunderstanding from the publisher's end, and they thought they were running features, but it actually just wasn't turned on. So yeah, we will give you a warning, but no, you will not be kicked off. Ads will stop showing. Jason, nice to see you. I'm not sure if you've been in here before, but yeah, I've kind of gone down how things work in here. I'm happy to join. I'm happy you're joining here as well. Mahmoud says, hi, my site is in pending. I'm curious of what type of pending. Again, if you guys want to provide some more insight about site-specific things, I will need a little bit more backup information in order to give you an actual insightful answer without me just kind of sounding ridiculous. Luffy says, hi, Charlie. My account was disabled due to invalid traffic. What can I do next for monetization again? Well, nothing right now in terms of just reapproving monetization. What you actually need to do is you need to go through and, if you were buying traffic, or if you're, if you're trying to gain traffic from random sources that are not valid, then I would say first off, try to stop that traffic at all costs. That's clearly what is the issue here. And what you can do next for monetization again, it's going to be a little bit more of a process, but essentially you should continue working on A, writing more content, and B, working on improving your SEO. That way you do gain more organic traffic through Google. That is basically the guaranteed way to never get turned off for invalid traffic, is just, improve SEO, improve your rankings. The more organic traffic actually shows, the higher EPMV. Those users tend to engage with your content the best. You might say, hey, Charlie, that's kind of a long-term process. It's going to take some work. Yes, it will, but that's kind of I think how the publishing world goes. But again, it's not going to be like you're going to put all this effort into improve SEO and not see the benefits. You will see a ton of great benefits in terms of, EPMV, longevity of traffic continually coming to your site. So it will only be a long-term beneficial plan. Ad manager problem is happening. So many people, what is Ezoic planning for that? So yes, this has been a pretty big issue. Google's been, kind of in the dark about why they're denying sites, what they're looking for. But over the past 7-8 months or so, we've kind of worked directly with Google to figure out what they look for. And when they deny sites, what does that exactly mean? When you say low value content, what does that exactly pertain to? But we've actually gotten really good at kind of combating these, denials. We actually did create an article of our own. And basically this article goes over basically everything Google looks for. So if you're saying, hey, my site's in review, what are the things that Google looks for in terms of the review? Because they do look for some random specific things. I would go through this article right here. And this will actually, yeah, again, it'll combat everything that Google will look for and deny your site for. What we're doing on a day-to-day basis now is we're actually pulling all the sites that have been denied for Ad Manager. And what we're basically going to do is we're going to review all these sites on the back end, and we basically built out a new feature that says, if you're actually in the dashboard and it says, where it has your Ad Manager account and domain status, we've actually built out a feature that just will allow us to give you a little comment section below the denial and say, hey, we reviewed your site, Google denied for X, Y, and Z. We found this link that's broken, or we found this page that has no content. We think this is exactly why Google is, denying your domain. So you'll actually get some proactive feedback in the dashboard from us then. This is a newer process, so we're going to be working on, how to make this quicker. So basically when people get denied, we can get a comment out really quick. That's kind of what we're doing on our end. And the article I dropped down is a really good one. If you guys are struggling with this. But if you want me to look through a specific site, you're going to have to drop your domain name down in the comment section so I can pull that up there. Emil, awesome. Thanks for joining. Who was it? Jason said he's also from the Philippines. So that's awesome. I'm happy you guys are here with us today. Perfect. Again, Mohammed, if you want me to look through your site specifically, I can, but it's actually not exactly just in terms of word count. Sometimes it's the organization of your menu. Sometimes it's the layout. If you have broken links, or sometimes if you have links that direct away from your personal domain. But again, most of that is covered in the article I just sent down in the comment section. I hope you are doing well. Thank you. I hope you are as well. My website, interwise.com, was approved yesterday for Ezoic monetization. Views have now updated, but EPMVN earnings are still at 0. I just wanted to confirm if everything is okay with my account. If you could please check it out. Sure. Let me look this up really quick and give you kind of a quick answer. Again, if you guys do drop your domain in the comment section and want me to look it up, let me know if you're comfortable with me actually pulling up the domain on the live stream for you guys all to see. I can basically troubleshoot this firsthand in front of you all. But if not, I'll just basically pull it up from my computer here. So the first thing I look for, you are approved by Ezoic, you're approved by Google. The next thing I like to do is just go to your site, make sure that ads are filling. Upon visiting the homepage, I'm getting a StreamYard ad. That's funny of all places because we actually use StreamYard to run these live streams. I'm seeing ads fill. Let me make sure these are Ezoic ads showing. That's another thing I look for. Another thing I can do is I'll go on the back end. I'll check out your impressions. I am seeing a lot of them, which means, okay, so this is basically the issue you're seeing in the dashboard. Because you're not seeing any earnings in the dashboard, that's totally okay. Because you just started showing impressions on the very, very earliest hours of today, the earnings, revenue, and everything will basically update in the dashboard the following day. So again, the earnings you make for today will update in the Ezoic dashboard somewhere around somewhere around 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time in the dashboard. But yeah, I do see everything on my end looks great, so you should be seeing some earnings anytime right now. I want to try web stories. Ezoic Analytics record visits from web stories. If yes, is there any way to restrict Ezoic from tracking web stories traffic? You can use web stories, but I'm not sure exactly how these pages are built out. But essentially, I believe this content is basically cached and delivered through Google. So we do track the visits, but we don't really track the engagement or bounce correctly. So if you are running web stories, you will not be able to monetize them at this time due to the way they're built out. But if you do want to exclude this from our tracking, you can basically go to the excluded apps or excluded pages app in the dashboard. And you can basically add all your web story URLs either as a page or a directory. And we will basically exclude all of our scripts from these pages you add in the excluded pages app. Haroon says hello. Hello, good morning, good afternoon. I'm consistently trying to join Ezoic. Also emailed you and the Ezoic team. So if you want to reach out to us, you can basically open up a support ticket. That's before if you've integrated. Once you've integrated, you actually will get an invite to our Twitch channels where we will actually be doing 95 to 100% of the support and troubleshooting. So if you've not been into Twist and you have integrated your site, let me know and I can make sure that we get you an invite for Twist. Some of you guys know Twist has been pretty finicky on their ends. We're constantly in contact with them. We're trying to basically figure out the best plan forward. But so far, basically, they've set a max user limit. So we have had some publishers get the invite to Twist to basically repeat an error. We did create a solution on the back end for us. So if you can't get into Twist, please just reach out to us in tickets. And then we'll basically direct you and get you a new invite, make sure you're in the proper channel and everything's working out. But Twist is a really, really good platform. It's basically like an open-ended Discord, similar to something like Slack that's a little bit more popular. But basically this allows, all the publishers that are working on the same things at the same time to basically work together. That's kind of, the community we're looking for. If we have hundreds of publishers, signing up at the same time, as much as we want to give them one-on-one support, it's just not, the most valuable solution in terms of a scaled standpoint. But that's also why we kind of believe, these live streams, might actually work better because it is somewhat of a one-on-one or at least a one-on with you all. But enough rambling. I do that a lot. I'll get back to the questions. Humba, could you do me a quick favor if you're okay with it? Could you just drop your domain name down in the comment section? I can pull it up for you really quick, or I can just shoot you a quick email just to make sure that we do get you on board and get things ready, because 8 months is a long time. We can definitely figure that out. Having issues, contact support. Pages just keep going in circles. Cannot open support ticket. Is anyone else having this issue? Thanks. So Mariah, excuse me if I butchered your name, but this most likely means you're already invited to Twist. But if you are not and you can't open a support ticket, this is a major issue. And I do want you to basically show me exactly what's happening on your end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my email down in the comment section. I might do this a couple times throughout this live stream. I will say you cannot email me asking just basic support questions. We can do all of that through Twist. But if you are having issues and saying, hey, Charlie, I'm trying to reach out to you through Twist and support, I can't, what the heck's going on? Send me an email and I'll make sure that all gets dialed in. I did not get your email, but I did just drop my email down in the comment section. For some reason it said it failed when posting on YouTube. Hopefully the YouTube's all in check. It looks like it's working there. Hopefully that comment will go through soon. But let me post that again just in case it doesn't go through. And I can't, so our Discord link, I can add this, but essentially I'll need to send it to your personal email, and I can send it like via a personal link. But I can't open or send the Discord link through here. It just won't work. But again, please reach out to me via email if it's not working for you, and I'll be more than happy to figure out A, why you're getting that error trying to access support, and B, get you into the proper avenue for support. This is a great question. STC Gaming. This is a really, really good question. When are the ad rates are going up? This month it's very down. So this is a very, very good question. I'm actually going to pull this up for you. But so as you guys know, there are basically 4 quarters throughout the entire year. And basically how these work is, normally you'll see at the beginning of every quarter, ad rates tend to dip a lot. And as you guys may or may not know, we are about to start the fourth quarter, right? Yeah, the fourth quarter. I think it's either this month or at the end of September. But essentially, because the quarter just ended or is ending, ad rates typically do drop off. So I'm actually going to just share my screen really quick. Yeah, the ad rates are very down. This also has to kind of, this does tie into basically what the current market is kind of looking at and kind of how, our economy is basically doing. So there is a correlation there. Let me share my screen. Share. Boom. I can give you guys this link as well, but this will basically give you the ad rates over the past year, and you can basically see, this will basically be like a troubleshooting resource more than anything for some points. But basically, you can see, here we are last year. We're coming up on the beginning of September. You kind of have to see lower ad rates right now, but that kind of goes into us being somewhat in a recession, which is basically 2 quarters continuously below X standpoint. But you do see this dip around this time of year because we are coming towards the end of the third quarter, or if it not just ended. I should probably know this, excuse me. But as you guys can see, the main thing that I really, really wanted to focus on here is basically how the rest of the year is going to play out. Because the end of the fourth quarter and the middle of the fourth quarter is really when the ad rates pop off. We kind of come to the holiday season here. The economy really booms. People are spending a lot of money. Major corporations are spending millions upon millions or probably billions of dollars in terms of advertisements. So the reason why I really, really want to emphasize this is because right now is the perfect time to really dial in your setup, your content, continue working on SEO, because these next 3 or 4 months or so, you're really going to see some incredible benefits. So yes, while the ad rates are currently lower and down, we are going to be coming up on the fourth quarter, where as you guys can see annually, year after year, if I pull it back to 2019, here you are, November, December, things really pop off. You are again, November, December, things really pop off again. This year, 2021, basically being the third year in COVID, we kind of seen, our economy somewhat balanced out. We've kind of gotten used to how things are going. Business strategies and things have changed. And look at this, the ad rates really, really blew up. So if you guys really want to take advantage of these amazing ad rates and our AI, right now is really going to be the time to dial in your setups. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I do want to say that is very, very, very valuable. So great question. Let me share this link with you guys down at the bottom just so you guys do have access to it. But again, that is a really good thing to check. Hey, I actually saw, my EPMV has dropped. I've made literally no changes. My traffic is consistent. My same articles are still ranking. They're still pulling traffic. Well, what the heck's going on? Well, sometimes it's actually nothing you've done, nothing Ezoic's done wrong. It's actually just how basically the ad rates are currently going. I will drop our ad revenue index down in the comment section again. But you guys are right. That's a great question. Big Tech TV is correct. Yeah, the ad rates are very down. But again, the fourth quarter is really when you're going to see things pop off and really take over. Good question here again. Online Courses World says, how many posts do we need for quick approval for Google MCM? We don't have an explicit number that either Google gave us or, that we kind of have, or we found that to be like the minimum. But I would say somewhere around at least the 15 article, minimum, maybe 12, but probably going to need more than that, to be completely honest. Because 12 is not a ton. What I think is more important in this question is, if you are on the newer side of a site, I want to make sure that you do have a menu that's built out to the content. So let's say Online Courses World is actually, writing articles about being a teacher and how to learn. Let's say you have two categories in your menu. One is learning, one is teaching. You want to make sure that both of those categories in your menu have a minimum of 6 articles in them. So if you have 2 categories, that's going to be like 12 articles minimum. You don't want less than 5 articles. Google will, for some reason, say, hey, this is low value content, we're going to deny. So that's something you really, really should be, kind of focusing on. STZ Gaming, again about the ad rate, says, my mostly traffic are coming from Safari, but EPMB on Safari are very low as compared to Chrome. It's half. So how can we overcome this and get a good EPMB on Safari? Well, first off, good job on basically using the analytics to figure out where EPMB could be lacking. But sometimes it actually could just be of how Safari is actually displaying the pages. So I think your best thing to do is actually visit your top landing pages. I would say your top 5 landing pages, all in Safari and not in Chrome, and just make sure that all the ads are being served properly and correctly. As Chrome is basically built out, of how we add, we add placeholders and things basically work flawlessly there. They should be working the same in Safari, but most likely this is going to be something with how the ads are being served in Safari. So the best thing to do is just go through all your top landing pages in Safari. Make sure that you have tons of placeholders still existing there. Make sure they're all pulling through the same. Make sure there's no sort of kind of caching going on the back end. Make sure you have no sort of unwrapped ads. If you were using AdSense before, that'll kill your EPMB and user experience and site speed all in one. But again, this is definitely something we can troubleshoot more. And STC Gaming, if you have not been into Twist, please go into Twist and say, hey Charlie, can you take a quick look at my EPMB? We talked about, we found the variance in EPMB to be from basically the browser, and then we can kind of go from there. And then I'll help you out and basically say, hey, I noticed you have unwrapped ads, or you have ads not pulling in on some of these pages, and we'll go from there. I am making some money, same money as AdSense. I can't see much changes on Ezoic. So this sounds like you were using AdSense prior, you were making X amount, and now you're using Ezoic and you're still seeing the same earnings in AdSense still. So what this means is you still have AdSense ads showing most likely on Ezoic versions as well, which means the Ezoic EPMB is going to be really, really poor and terrible, which is also why you're still seeing earnings in AdSense. So this is definitely something we want to tackle now, because again, serving AdSense ads and Ezoic at the same time, it'll kill your site speed, it'll really hurt user experience, and your EPMB is going to be really low. So again, I'll just do this article in your video. I'm actually going to send you 2 articles because this is a really good question, and I think a lot of publishers kind of get tripped up on this. But the first one I'm going to show you is basically how you can wrap all of your AdSense ads. The reason why we want you to wrap your AdSense ads is basically so our AI can basically analyze everything that is on the page. If our AI does not realize that there are AdSense ads showing on the page, then it's going to basically misserve and misjudge the layout of how many ads and what size of ads should be even showing, or even the quantity of ads. But the second article I'm about to send you is basically why this is so important, and it goes over those couple things I just touched up on. But essentially, your EPMB is going to be shot, which totally makes sense why you're still seeing some earnings in AdSense, and Ezoic is rather stagnant. Because if you do have everything set up and dialed in, you are guaranteed to earn more than AdSense, especially if you've imported your historical data, if you've linked your AdSense, and if you've set up Ezoic AdSense mediation. I know that was kind of a bit of a lot, but if you do have more questions on one of those things, I'll be more than happy to go through it. Let me try to catch up on some of these questions, and then I'll do a quick run through, and I can even talk about some of those things I was just looking at there. Is it possible to have lower EPMB while using Ezoic caching? I notice when my caching is off, I earn 20 to 30% higher EPMB, or is there a problem with my situation? So the data would actually somewhat contradict your statement here. I'm not going to sit here and say you're wrong. But basically, when you do have Ezoic caching on and you have your caching basically optimized through Ezoic, so you're seeing 80, 90 to basically 100% cache hit day over day, this will actually point to a better user experience because the pages will load quicker, and the better user experience, actually the higher EPMB. So this seems like there actually might be a problem with your current setup and situation. One thing I would really want you to make sure is that, if you are turning on Ezoic caching, give it some time to basically allow the cache to build up so we can actually serve those cache pages to your users. But simply turning on the caching app will not will not have a 20 to 30% hit or dip in your ePMP. So there's definitely something else we want to check out in there. That correlation does not exist for sure. If our Google AdSense has ad limit, then we are approved by Google MCM. Is Ezoic or not, and is there any way on Ezoic or any issue on Ezoic? Excuse me, sorry about that. And is there any issue on Ezoic when we are approved by Ezoic and after we get ad limit on our AdSense? I think I follow your question here. If you're approved by Ezoic and Ad Manager, or MCM we call it, then you should be fine even if you have an ad limit on AdSense. I would try to resolve all those issues with AdSense as soon as possible to make sure it doesn't turn into a disablement on their end, because that will create a ton of issues on our end and your end. You'll basically lose, your monetization through AdSense and Ezoic. But yeah, let's make sure we get that dialed in and figure that out. Hi Charlie, what is the perfect size to use for my video? I'm using Canva. Good question. Are you talking about inserting the like it as a placeholder? What size? If that is your question, we actually have the default settings to show the most optimal size for your video placeholder. Of course, we've tested many different sizes, but basically, in order to abide by Google policies and get the maximum, basically the maximum output of user experience and revenue, is basically going to be the default settings. I'm not sure exactly what they are, but we can figure that out and basically get that down in. But I do want to say this is great. You are creating videos. We actually do have a new feature that is, has been rolled out to many publishers, if not everyone already. Excuse me. But basically, we have a tool that will convert your current content, like written content of an article, and will actually make a video for you. That way you can add a video placeholder to your pages. And then actually you can have, pre-roll, mid-roll, or post-roll ad showing. And this is just gonna be a really good way to basically, increase your ePMV sometimes by 10 to 50% rather quickly, and especially even more over time. There is a huge focus on video content and video ads at Ezoic and many other ad network companies. It's kind of going to be, definitely the next step forward. So we're definitely going to stay on top of that. SDZ Gaming says, one last question. When we move from Access Now to level 1, will my ePMV increase? So I want to give you two answers. Yes and no. Essentially, so going from Access Now to level 1, in terms of your ad networks and your setup and basically how your pages work will not change. So going simply from Access Now to level 1, no, it will not. But actually going from level 2 to level 3 and beyond, you do get access to some of our higher paying ad networks. So that is a good incentive to actually continue to working on your setup. But so that's going to be the no side of my answer. The yes side of my answer will be, it sounds like you are still on the newer side of Ezoic because you're in Access Now. And now you're level 1. And basically why I'm answering this yes is because our AI does take months to learn your site. There's a direct correlation with, more users and more traffic to, kind of the faster our AI does optimize and fully learn your users and your layout and everything. So yes, being with Ezoic over a longer period of time does actually show that there's going to be an increase in ePMV due to the way our AI optimizes your site. But there will not be a direct correlation with basically going from Access Now to level 1. That's going to be more of a correlation between, the time you've been on Ezoic and the more users you have and the more our AI learns. So great question. If you're okay with it, I would say keep on asking questions because you've asked some really, really good questions that I think everyone can kind of benefit from. But actually, we do want to attach an article for this. It's basically what we call the optimization timeline of how our AI learns your site. If you guys do read this pretty carefully, you'll see that the data that we show is basically for all websites that have 10,000 visits or more, because this was written in 2019. This was before Access Now was even a thing at Ezoic. So we didn't really take into account sites that have sub 10,000 page views. But again, that's a really good article. It gives you a good understanding that, over time our AI does optimize. But yeah, so if you are, I'm not gonna go too much. I love ranting about good questions, but you are making the right steps forward. So if you do continue to write content, work on SEO, our AI will continue to learn. You'll very quickly be into level 2. You'll very quickly be into level 3. We'll give you all of the resources and materials you need to actually grow your site and your content. And then when you do go from level 2, level 3, you'll see a bump in EPMB due to our AI basically dialing in your layout, your users, and your setup. But then B, getting access to higher paying ad networks. And then from there, of course, you can still go to VIP, which has more. And on top of that, if you've been with Ezoic for a while, you're going from access now to level 2, level 3, level 1. Regardless, you can get invite to premium, and then you can actually use our premium ad networks, which will also increase EPMB. But yeah, that was a lot of venting. So if you guys have questions about my mini event, right there, let me know and I can circle back and slow down a bit. Big Tech TV asks, when adding Ezoic certification on my site using the extension, it shows 404 error. Try again after some time. Also, manual insertion of HTML code doesn't work as well. So this is actually going to be something that I'll probably need to troubleshoot on my end. So my best thing for you to do now, Big Tech TV, is actually go into Twist, open up a thread and say, hey, Charlie, I'm trying to add the Ezoic certification to my site. It's 404ing. I'll recreate this. I can check out basically what is erroring, what error codes I'm seeing, and maybe I can see if it's either coming from actually Ezoic or maybe it's something with your current setup, plugin, or something set up at your host. But again, this is definitely something we can troubleshoot and get dialed in for you. But I wish I could answer this straight up right here, but I'll basically need to recreate and troubleshoot from my end. Rakhi says, hi, my site already running Ezoic ads since 20 days. I saw traffic increase. How do you drive traffic? I mean, is that organic? So if you're asking how do I, as in, or we as an Ezoic drive traffic, we don't drive traffic to your site. Basically, sorry, I'm trying to figure out what exactly your question was here and how I can answer it without sounding like a ding dong. Is that organic? So yeah, I mean, it is organic, but basically how you will drive organic traffic is through SEO and optimizing SEO. As you guys know, we're still technically in content month, so that's basically been the focus on, writing more content, increasing traffic, working on SEO. We actually have like a downloadable PDF, which is basically like, I don't want to call it a mini textbook, but basically a mini textbook of basically how to write more content, optimize your content, and increase SEO. But to answer your question, how does Ezoic drive traffic? Is what we do is we basically give you all the resources to actually improve SEO. So that way you're not working backwards, you are working forwards and improving organic traffic. So yeah, that's basically what it's going to be from our end. We'll do everything, to make sure that you are optimizing SEO. We'll provide webinars, we'll provide resources, we have tools, we have analytics, we have everything there for you. Does we off AI ad of Ezoic or always on them because when I off them, I see increase in my earning? Or I see when sites moving Ezoic Cloudflare integration, the site goes down. So to answer your first question, if you're turning off AI placeholders, I believe is what you're saying, you're seeing an increase in your earning. That's very interesting. That's probably something we want to look at and troubleshoot. This is not impossible. But if you are enabling AI placeholders, it's really good practice and idea to go through actually all of your pages and to make sure that the layout and the ad setup has not gotten skewed and kind of messed up. It is also important to remember that if you do enable AI placeholders, these placeholders are new and fresh, and each placeholder does carry valuable data to our AI, and it'll basically say, hey, this is what we've seen testing X, Y, and Z sizes or formats. So while you enable AI placeholders, that is going to be a good thing. You do want to give it time to gather data, learn your site, and kind of go from there. There is a quick little walkthrough that I really want to share with you guys. I'm just looking down to make sure I'm not seeing anything urgent. But I would highly suggest enabling AI placeholders. but there is something that I really want to cover, and it's basically if you have an AI placeholder on a page that you don't like, how can I remove it? And I basically just want to give you guys a really quick rundown of how that will actually look on your end. This is actually going to be a domain of someone from Ezoic, so I won't actually be making changes. I'm not even sure they actually have AI placeholders enabled, but regardless, let me share my screen for you guys. So let's say my name is, let's say, you're a website publisher. This is your website. You're in the dashboard, and without pulling up the page, let's say you have this one page, and you're like, hey, this placeholder is showing, above the fold, above my menu, above my H1, like what the heck is going on? First off, the thing you want to do is you want to actually enable the Chrome extension, the Ezoic Chrome extension, and activate your placeholders, so that way you can see whatever that top of the page placeholder is, kind of how it was added. So if you see that like intrusive ad, you enable the Chrome extension, and it says, AI placeholder top of the page. You're saying, okay, that's the placeholder that I need to remove. I obviously don't want to just delete the placeholder. I don't want to remove it entirely. This is basically how you are going to remove that AI placeholder from the top of the page. So the first step is go to the monetization tab of your dashboard, and then we're going to scroll down just a little bit here. Again, I'll go slow, but yep, we see all the placeholders you have here. It doesn't look like, well, we can actually check here to see if AI placeholders are turned on, which I do not think they are. Oh, they are. They are. You can see that here. That's not relevant to basically how we are disabling them. But again, we're going to go down to disable ads by page. So this is the app you will use to disable AI placeholders or a single AI placeholder. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to hit settings here. And we're going to go from page rules to ad tester, because this will be basically be, selecting the placeholders and basically everything that has to do with our ad tester. And instead of going from standard, we're actually going to click here, and the drop down, you'll actually see AI placeholders. So then we can click AI placeholders. And remember, we've already figured out on your personal page that it's going to be AI placeholder, top of the page is creating an issue. So we do ad tester, AI placeholders, new rule. And from here we can say, so I've only noticed this AI placeholder is creating an issue on this page. It's not creating an issue on any other pages. So we only want to disable the AI placeholder for this page specifically. Or you can sit there and say, actually, this top of the page AI placeholder is creating an issue on every page. Let's actually just create a directory to disable this placeholder on every single page. Not only that, you can also create a directory just to basically add it to, let's say you have one that's like, /blog, and that's basically where all the AI placeholders are creating issues. So we can create this rule that says a directory for all of the URLs that follow this. We're going to position type, it's going to be AI, top of the page. That's the one. And if I were to create this rule, every single URL that follows this will have that AI top of the page placeholder disabled. Or, if you wanted to do it just for a page and it was like, the page was, how to become a millionaire, blah, blah, blah. You can basically type that out exactly how it follows after the root domain, and then just create that for that single page, create rule, and then boom, that AI placeholder will be disabled. If you do disable it and you go directly back to the page and you still see it there, clear your cache for that page, and then basically just wait like a couple minutes and then revisit the page and it should be gone. But that is basically how we are going to disable AI placeholders either for a specific page or for an entire directory of pages. But great question there. And then the second part of that was, or I see when sites move Ezoic Cloudflare integration, the site goes down. So yeah, if you remove your Ezoic, or if you move integration with, our CDN, which can be through Cloudflare or just name servers at your registrar, you do want to make sure that, the site is up at your host and that everything is basically settled in there, because at that point, it'll be fully untouched from Ezoic. So Ezoic will not be part of the equation there. And the site actually should not go down at all. So this is probably just an error either with their host or their DNS records at their host or an SSL misconfiguration at their host. But again, that's something we can help out with, regardless if you leave or not. Mark says 720p. First off, welcome back, Mark. Great to see you. And I think he was answering this question, someone else's question about properly serving videos, if I'm not mistaken. But I can follow up on that again as well. But again, Mark, good to see you. Sorry for missing out last week, but I'm here now. Hi, Sir Ezoic. Approved my website, but my website not open in browser. How to solve this problem? So I'm gonna need some follow-up, basically, what the error is you're seeing and what you exactly mean by not open. Are you seeing origin errors? Are you seeing error commuting with, your host? Or we'll basically have to get some more insight there. But we do have an article basically covers origin errors and basically the main things we see. To give you basically a quick short summary of the most common issue we see with origin errors is, let's say I was integrating my site and I'm using some host, and basically when I integrate my site, all the user request paths will then be directed through our CDN. So I were to visit Mark's site, it would go from my computer to the host server, and then it'll be routed through the Ezoic CDN. And what actually happens is when your users get routed through the Ezoic CDN, the IP of the user actually changes to show one of our IPs. And then your host might say, hold up, Mark, we've seen 1,000 visits today, and we've seen the repeated IPs maybe 100 times. Like, this seems like bot traffic, we're gonna block it. And then basically all you have to do is you basically have to find that origin error article that I just sent. And there's basically going to be a list of IPs that your host can whitelist. And that way your host will say, hey, we've seen this whitelist a couple times. This is probably bot traffic. Oh, wait, we've actually whitelisted it. It's an Ezoic IP. This is totally okay. Let's not block it. And that's basically how you'll navigate origin errors for the most part. Or if you want to go into that article and your host cannot whitelist IPs, what you can actually do is you can head up something called the XFF, which is basically our export header option. And basically what this will do is it'll change the headers to actually show the real IP of the user, and it won't show the Ezoic IP. And that's also another way how to kind of navigate this origin errors issue. But yeah, if you do want me to pull up your site really quickly, just throw it down in the comment section. I'll pull it up, see what errors I'm having on my end. I can quickly look at your DNS and then go from there. Is Ezoic have video ad that we have placed on our sites and increase our earnings? So yes, if you've not visited Humix yet, that's basically what this is going to be. It's basically going to be like our YouTube video player. But I will drop this down for you in the bottom. Great question, great feature request. That'll be covered in the article down below. But I would highly suggest setting that up because we have seen tons of improvements, and the data has definitely pointed to showing that this does improve and help with EPMB. For video size is 720p. I think that was a suggestion and not a question, but yeah, either 720 or 1080p for sure. It kind of maybe depends on how you want to serve it, or maybe the camera you're using, shutter speed, your frames per second. A lot can go into this. Is it possible to have one of you guys from Ezoic to look at my ad settings and placeholders? I see constant improvements on my traffic, but the discouraging EPMBs. So yeah, if you are having trouble with EPMB, we can definitely help out. What I really, really want to emphasize with this question is we do have some insanely well-written articles that will basically cover every question issue you guys could come across. Not only that, but we also have all this proactive information and steps you guys can also do. So if you guys ever have a question, the best thing to do is actually go to ezoic.support.com, support.ezoic.com. But then again, so you're saying here, hey, why is my EPMB low? Let's go into the knowledge base articles. We'll type in EPMB, and then basically what we can do is you can see, best practices for higher EPMB, troubleshooting EPMB changes. You'll see another really good one that is like, why does my revenue go up and down? It basically goes into all the external factors, as long as along with the internal factors that can actually come into play, with EPMB changes. But again, at the same time, this could honestly just be something to do with ad networks. So you might have just integrated recently while the ad rates are really low. But yes, we can. What I want you to do is to go into Twist, open a thread, and say, hey, I asked Charlie about my EPMP changes. He kind of directed me towards support. To do support articles, I read through a few. I found that Safari's not working as well as Chrome in terms of EPMB. I noticed these two top landing pages have a half of an EPMB of another, and we can basically go from there. But we do really want to encourage you to basically do your own little mini investigation, and then come to us with any sort of insight you have there. Or 9 times out of 10, you'll actually figure out what exactly was coming into play of why your EPMB is low or discouraging. But yes, we can look into your ad setup. We'll take a quick through your dashboard to check things out. Does Ezoic free hosting have downtime, or is it 100% uptime? There's no downtime when going to it, because your site will basically be live at your old host, and once transferred, it'll be directly live onto ours. SEO Wizard. First off, A+ on the name. I love the term wizard. I don't know if that's weird or random or why I'm even talking about it, but SEO Wizard is awesome. Hello, I'm an Ezoic publisher. I'm facing a huge traffic drop after Google March product update. My site is about entertainment. Does any other entertainment niche publisher is facing this problem? So, as you guys, I'm sure, are aware of, these updates that Google pushes on their end can be very random. One thing that I kind of is going to be my intuition right here is that you do have a product page. Oh wait, after drop Google March product update. So if you do have a bunch of pages with product or affiliate links, I would try to limit your affiliate links and product links to a minimal, and make sure that they're actually directly related with the content, because Google did start to see, hey, these publishers have 50 affiliate links on an article and only 5 to 10 of them are relevant to the actual articles and content. And that actually was a hindering factor in terms of SEO. But I'm not sure if that's related to your entertainment niche. I know that's a very competitive niche as well, so that could also be a reason why. But I'll kind of leave this open up for other publishers to kind of chime in here and see what's going on from there. Malik says, hi, I recently turned on mediation for my site, but my EPP has gone down from 10 to 6. I know that ad rates are lower for now, but this fall was abrupt and just after mediation. So Malik, I do want you to reach out to us in support, and I do want to dive into this to make sure this is not an underlying huge issue. Because if it is, I'm going to have to flag it to our team, our ad tester team, right away. I want to make sure that this is not directly correlated with mediation. Most likely, this is just going to be the ad rates, depending on which day you enabled it. But again, I do want to investigate this to make sure that it is not actually directly correlated with enabling mediation, because mediation should only be increasing earnings, as you're basically allowing AdSense header bidding to the equation here. But yeah. Hassan says, so I was using Ezoic for 1 month. Suddenly, my ad manager account gets disapproved. Then, after that day, Ezoic also disapproved me. If I apply the site in a new account, will it get approved again? No, it will not get approved again. What you should do is you should basically figure out why ad manager disapproved your account. Just because they disapproved your account does not mean you basically have to walk away and restart. There's actually things you can just do to overturn this with Google, or sometimes you're just getting flagged for a duplicate account. But again, this is something we can troubleshoot, and actually opening up a new account will get you nowhere, because you won't be able to add the domain. You won't be able to use the same credentials to sign in. You won't be able to use the same ad manager account. It'll get flagged. Basically, everything will get flagged, and opening up a new account again will create no solutions, just a handful of more problems. So just reach out to us in support through the original account, and we'll basically go from there. Arif Flashin says, also, I purchased Age domain running well with Ezoic. Is it possible to run 2 Ezoic accounts on same phone and the same payment method? No, it is not. Again, you guys can only have one Ezoic account. Creating a second, third, and fourth is against policy for one. It'll actually you'll run into a ton of other issues in terms of getting payment, linking AdSense, setting up ad manager. It'll actually just really hurt you out. And not only that, if you have 2 domains, putting them both in one account will actually get you to level 2, level 3, level 4 much quicker, because the way our level system is based off of, it's by the publisher, not by the individual domain. So if you have 2 domains in level 1, or you have one in level 1 and one in level 2, not only are you hurting yourself because you can't run the same data in the accounts in between, you're kind of running 2 separate accounts. But you're also hindering the fact that you could actually be in level 3, because again, if you have the 2 domains under one account, those will all be contributed collectively. So it'll be your sum visits and sum revenue between all your domains. And that will actually get you to level 3, for instance, and then you'll be access to the level 3 partners and ad networks. But again, 2 Ezoic accounts is not good. It'll hurt you as a publisher. It'll create issues with our backend. It'll create more work for us. It'll create more work for you. So it's kind of just a lose-lose situation, actually. Again, you can add as many domains to one account as you would like. There's no limit. You can have 15 domains, 20 domains in one account, but not 2 Ezoic accounts. Shakti says, Charlie, my site has become slower after adding ads. I changed from revenue focused to user experience focused, and the speed is somewhat better now. So someone said removing anchor ads will help increase speed. Is it true? Well, removing certain scripts and features and tools on a page will increase site speed. Obviously, the more you have to load on a page, the slower it will be. But there is a happy medium between serving the right amount of ads that will actually increase and really drive good revenue, but also drive a really good user experience. Part of that would be going from revenue focused to user experience focused. But what we would actually suggest is actually just running the default of what we recommend, which is basically the happy medium between these two, revenue and user experience focused. But we actually do, the way we serve our ads to programmatic bidding, or basically how your ads are basically bid on, the content will always load first. So while it might, might slow down like some aspects of your site, the content will always load first, and actually adding those ads does not hurt user experience, because if I were loading a page on how to change my oil on my car, all the content's going to be loaded first originally, as it is anyway. So I'm still getting what I want. The really, really important factor here is actually the content on the page, to make sure that is actually just answering my question, giving me valuable data. But yes, you are right that like removing certain things from your pages will increase speed, but there's also probably 10 to 15 other things you can remove from your site that will actually, drive the site to be 10 times quicker. But also you still drive, really good revenue and user experience by allowing all the different types of ads to be served. Because anchor ads are one of our best performing ads, as basically every single site that you go to that is monetized of some sort will have an anchor ad running, because the data shows that it's a really good ad. It stays on the screen. Users view it for a long time. So removing the anchor ad will probably hurt EPMB. But again, there's other things you can do to increase site speed and user experience while also driving better revenue. I wouldn't say just removing other ads is going to help. So actually, I was just asking this question yesterday, and I'm not even 100% sure. That's probably something sad to admit, and definitely something I should figure out. But AI placeholders, to give you a rundown on that, are basically how it works. The function is, let's say you have a really long paragraph and you have 10 placeholders top to bottom that look really good. Basically, AI placeholders will basically find locations on the page where placeholders could exist, but not currently do. So it's basically saying, hey, we've noticed this section of your articles has 5 paragraphs and no placeholders, like we think this is a really good location for us to test the placeholder. The AI is actually going to add it there. That's kind of sad. I don't know the answer to that. I should definitely figure that out. Sorry, I was just writing that down so I can actually answer that question. My EPMB also increased after disabling AI and enhanced placeholders. That's very interesting. Definitely something I want to look at and look into. The one thing that's kind of coming to mind is, let's say you are running WordPress and you've added placeholders using the WordPress plugin, and you've added placeholders using the Chrome extension. Your placeholders are probably already very, very dialed in. So adding AI and enhanced placeholders might just be kind of diluting the page with a ton of placeholders. Again, that's not always a terrible thing, but I want you to think about how our placeholders do work, operate, and kind of optimize the site. So if you already have 20 placeholders on a page using the Chrome extension and plugin, those also already have very valuable data, and they're already testing the right locations and sizes. So if you're adding 20 more placeholders to the page using enhanced AI placeholders, you're basically adding all of these new variations for our AI to test without any new data. So it's basically like almost setting a refresh on your current placeholder setup. And I haven't really thought about that until I kind of verbalized it right now, to be blunt. So that is something we want to look into, but that's most likely why you might be seeing a little bit of a dip. So again, if you do want to enable these, give it at least 1 to 2 months time, especially if you're on the lower end of visits, like on a day, like if you're doing 20 or 30 visits a day. This might take 2-3 months even to basically see the turnaround for a higher EPMB. But yeah, I do want you to basically just remember here, Odon Lumen is basically how our placeholders work. Because if you are adding a bunch of fresh and brand new placeholders, they have no data to run and go off of. So we'll be basically retesting and re-optimizing your pages. Sport Life or Spartan Life, Sport Life. I remember Sport Life. How much content do you typically need to get 50 to 100 visits per month? So this is a really hard question to answer, because you want to think about all the different ways kind of domains kind of vary. Let's say some person has a tool website and it only has 2 tools in total, but it's basically evergreen content because people are using these tools all the freaking time. You only need 2 pages and 2 tools. But then again, if you are writing, let's say, something about sports content, that's something that's continually adapting, continually changing. You have updates, you have trades, you have teams losing, you have teams winning, you have championships, you have off-season, you have preseason, blah, blah, blah. You're basically going to need to writing content over and over and making sure that your SEO game is really on point. Because with a niche like sports, it's going to be really different for someone that has like evergreen content for traveling or something else, or recipes. So again, this is kind of a difficult question to answer. I like where your head's at. But if I were to answer this question subjectively to you in terms of sports content, you'll probably need to stay on top of your writing game and your SEO game in order to see the 50 to 100 page views per month. You could, of course, write yearly content that will kind of be popping throughout the year. I know we're coming up on the football season. We're like week 2 into the preseason, which I'm excited about. I don't know if you guys care about American football, but we're weird about it. We like it. Anyway, before I go on too much of a tangent, let me find the next question. But that's a great idea. I mean, you have the right idea here of basically, there is a correlation between, content, the relevance of your content, basically the viral trends of your content in terms of page views. Midem says, hi, sir. I have a site with over 30,000 page views per month, but I can't get to level 1 due to low earnings. How can I fix this? So great question. Again, this is basically where our support and article base will basically come into play, because without being able to look at the niche of your site, the actual domain, your ad settings, your what placeholders you have enabled, what your actual placeholder setup looks like. Maybe you have error pages, maybe you have objectionable content, maybe your traffic is from this region, maybe your traffic's being blocked from the next. So before I ramble on forever, is what I'm trying to say is there are so many things that can go into why your EPMB could be low. the best thing you can do on your end is to basically use the knowledge base articles to basically get your own insight of why you might think your EPMB could be low, and then basically go from there. I'll add this article again down at the bottom, and it's basically best practices for a higher EPMB. So that way you can make sure you are fully dialed in, because let's say maybe you only have 10 placeholders. That's probably the direct reason why you're not hitting the revenue requirement for level 1. But again, there's just so many metrics that go into EPMB and your revenue made by per day. This is going to be a really hard question without being able to actually fully go in and check this out. If you are comfortable with it, drop your domain name down on the bottom, and I can actually check this out. But what I can also do is I can basically use this website here that I already have pulled up, and I'll basically go through everything in the dashboard that I would basically look for. If you guys want me to do that, I know I did a short run through earlier. Let me read these questions. Cool. Sport life. Yeah, I'm happy to answer those questions. I'm happy that advice did work. But I do see Randall also saying, hey, Charlie, my friends are saying that my domain, salevietnam.com, has too many ads. What can I do? Kind of an interesting comment and question. I will touch on that in a second. I was just trying to gather my bearings. And Randall, would you be okay if I were to actually pull up your domain? Not your domain specifically, or unless you are comfortable with that, but can I pull up your Ezoic dashboard and then share it with the users, and I can basically go through your setup and say, hey, this is actually what you can do to show less ads. But something I want you to also consider is that, depending on who your friends are, it could be too many ads, but from another person, it could actually be too few ads. So there are some things you can really quickly do, Randall, to serve less ads and focus higher on user experience. I can show you how to do that in a second. But to answer this question that I still have highlighted, I kind of want to go through a quick rundown through the monetization tab of your dashboard to basically show you all the things I look for. So let me share my screen really quick. Cool. So let's say that is your question. You're on the home page. You're saying, I hate when this happens. There we go. Okay. So we're on the home page of the dashboard. We're saying, hey, look, my earnings were pretty good. I don't know what happened. Maybe let's say on this day, like why are my earnings on this day lower? I basically just want to show you what I do on my end that you guys can also do on your end to basically figure out, why earnings are low. It's really good to think about basically everything that can come into play here. So we can say, hey, look, our cash rate is clearly not the issue here. Our core web vitals are clearly not the issue here. Those are all pumping out, dialed in super good. Of course, we do see we see about 100 less visits a day, but that should not basically relate to $8 less earned. So what I will basically do is I'll go to the monetization tab. Actually, I'm gonna take a step back. Sorry about that. What I first want to do is I basically look at my earnings report. Basically what this will tell me is, this will show my earnings over the day, but then you can also basically show your EPMB here. So if I were to look at both of these, I can see that my EPMB is actually still doing really good for that day. This is definitely just an issue with the visits for the day, and maybe a couple other things that I can show you. But the next thing I would basically do is I'll go to the monetization tab of my dashboard. I'll make sure that I've linked my AdSense data. That's huge. And under Ad Tester, I'll basically see what I have or you have actually enabled. So if you do want to see, if you are EPMB focused, another really good thing to do is actually just enable vignette ads as well for all three, and enhance placeholders as well. Okay, so there's your answer. I probably should have just looked in the dashboard for an answer. But enhanced AI placeholders are basically, they're going to be able to modify and move around your current placeholders, and they will be able to shift with your goals that you have focused. Randall, this is actually what I was actually about to show you let's just say you want to make one really quick change to maybe show just a couple less ads per page because your friends think that there are too many showing. Before I forget about it, I want to show you where you can actually do that really quick. If I were to go to the settings tab of the dashboard right here, scroll down to optimization goals, and from here you can see balanced is default. You can actually change from balanced to user experience focused, which will basically tell our AI, hey, let's dial back the amount of ads that we serve and maybe the sizes we serve from now going on. But this will basically be the quickest change. You can serve a couple less ads per page. To go back, troubleshooting EPMB changes, or to make sure that I'm fully dialed in, I'll go through all these things here, all my placeholders. I'll make sure that I do have a ton of placeholders. Clearly, you can see, just under 30 in total, which is huge. What I'll always suggest if you guys are running WordPress is to actually use the WordPress plugin to create more placeholders. There is a correlation with more placeholders, which equals more variations for AI to test. The more variations our AI has to test, the better user experience it's going to be. The better the UX is, the better in terms of revenue. Again, that will be, of course, over time, adding more placeholders. But again, if you are running AdSense, you always want to make sure that you do have mediation linked. If you're seeing Google AdSense and this delete network here, that means everything is already set up and dialed in. For you guys that are new or have not heard it before, basically what this mediation app does is, let's say, you're monetized with Ezoic, you have all of the Ezoic ad partners already bidding on your inventory. Adding Google AdSense through mediation will basically allow us to serve some AdSense ads, but also add some of their networks to basically bid against our inventory. So I'll basically ensure that you're earning as much as possible for each ad. A couple questions just that I want to cover really quick that I see a bunch with AdSense mediation is the AdSense mediation earnings will actually be paid out through the AdSense dashboard and not through the Ezoic dashboard. So if I were to take a step back and look at my earnings here, you'll basically see, okay, let's call it $9, $8 at 17, 17, 7, 24, 24, 9, basically 33, call it 10, 43, 53, let's call it, with the cents, 53, we'll call it $59. So you'll basically be seeing a $59 payout between these last 7 days. So basically the point I'm trying to get at here is you might see your total earnings for like the past 7 days, but then you'll see your Ezoic payout will only include the Ezoic earnings and exclude the mediation earnings. So if you're confused about the total payout, these mediation earnings, again, will be paid out through AdSense and not Ezoic. But yeah, that's kind of a question we see a lot with that, so I wanted to cover that. Next thing, moving on, I'll basically go down through here. If you have max ads per page enabled and you want to be revenue focused, I'll basically ask you, hey, why is this turned on? Why are you limiting the amount of ads you want to serve? If you are revenue focused. Again, with some of these, I really wouldn't add any advertisement blockers. I'll basically see maybe you're blocking a bunch of ads for tons of pages. That also will be why you're kind of earning in terms of revenue. So that's kind of the basic first things I'll check out. The next things I'll actually look at is in the levels dashboard. And you can actually see basically all your optimization opportunities. You can see beginner, he's checked all of these. He's created placeholder, he has anchor ads, ads.txt is set up, he has sellers JSON. Beautiful. Novice, he has AdSense linked. He has dense placeholder set up. This is great. So this is basically going through all of the EPMB or monetization opportunities, basically built in on different levels. So this one's saying consent management is not set up, which it definitely is. So probably just going to pick that up in a second. But then again, we go down to advanced and say, hey, look, there's actually a couple of random things. Like, look, this one says long page placeholder density. What this is basically telling you is, Charlie, you have 5 articles that are really long in content and they're not dense at all. So you might see that the EPMB on some of your longer pages are not as good as they actually could be. And which is probably the truth in reality, because if you do have a really long article and your users are engaging with the entire thing, you definitely want to make sure that your setup is fully dialed in on those longer pages. And then again, video ads, there's no video ads. Responsive ads have not been set up. We do have sticky sidebar ads, author tracking, but these are basically like the extensive optimization opportunities. And then basically the final thing that I really want you guys to get comfortable and familiar with is actually the analytics tab of your dashboard. And what I really like to do here is the first report I usually like to check is your content, and then you actually want to go to your landing pages. So this will actually rank your pages by the pages most frequently visited to least frequently visited. Hence the name top landing pages. Sorry if that was a little redundant. But what I like to see here is you can actually see that EPMV revenue, bounce rate, engagement time, page view engagement, page views, visits, blah, blah, blah. But basically we can scroll this over. And what I like to do is I like to go to my page and say, hey, which pages of mine are kind of hurting in terms of EPMV? Because like $16, $17, that's a great EPMV. $3 is a really low EPMV. Like, hey, what's wrong? But then we actually realize this is just the homepage, so that's totally normal. That's not an issue. But we see this one here. Oh, this Erie Canal actually has a $40 EPMV. Maybe I can see the layout of that page and how the placeholder setup is there, and maybe see what the variance is between these two pages right here. Because the variance between these two pages will most likely come into and actually show you why this, your EPMV is only $9 opposed to 40, opposed to 30, 27, 22, 16. So my future attention in my next 30, 40 minutes is basically all going to be focused on this page and this page as well. And I'm basically going to try to find everything that's basically, not added to those page, or maybe there's like a broken link, or maybe there's an error. But yeah, that's basically going to be my focus, because I can see that my average EPMV is somewhere around the $20 to $25 range. Well, actually $18 as it's calculated for me right there. But on like excluding the homepage, of course, and some of these lower ones, it's basically around the $25 EPMV, which is a really great EPMV. I also want to add that. But that's basically going to be my favorite report that I like to run when I'm troubleshooting EPMV drops. The last thing I really like to do is, if I go back, I don't know if I can go back to the Ezoic dashboard. Hold on. I will reshare my screen in a second. Let me just get back to the dashboard. This is kind of a small thing, but it's definitely very valid, and it's definitely something that I want to bring up because I see it more than we would both like. But you might actually say, hey, Charlie, I am seeing this weird dip. I created a couple new articles, and my earnings are not on par. Basically, what I like to do is, one of my things I like to do is I like to check objectionable content. You can either type in objection or just go into the content section and scroll down and find it. But basically what this will do, this will flag any pages that have bad words or inappropriate words on them. And when this does get flagged, ads will not serve on those pages. So that'll basically be a direct reason why EPMV in general is hurting, but also why EPMV on some pages either A, not existent, or B, really low. Another good one here is to actually check all your error pages. This is a new page we have built out, and it'll basically check out and show you all of the broken links. As you guys can see right here, check out broken links. We can see these ones here. So these ones are actually broken links. We can go, okay, let's check out the reasons why. It's returning a 404. We can actually visit these pages specifically, not found on the server. So we want to make sure that either this page was just fully removed and that we don't want users to find it anymore. But then we can go back and actually see, maybe there's an issue with our sitemap, or maybe it is just erroring out on our host. But again, that's definitely something we want to check out. That's another reason why. And that is basically most of the things that I look for. Other than when I actually go to my top landing pages, I will investigate my actual pages firsthand. So I will enable the Chrome extension. I'll go top to bottom. I'll basically give my full, I call my Inspector Steve rundown. But yeah, when you guys do troubleshoot these EPMVs, it's really important to consider the entire umbrella, not just EPMV because there's so many things that do go into this equation in terms of user experience. So you do want to consider absolutely everything that can come into equation. And I could probably ramble on with that about that for an hour, so don't want to get too carried away. But hopefully that did help out with at least one or two of you. Cap says hearing the questions and super helpful answers is very helpful for this newbie. Gracias. De nada. Happy to help. We're all newbies at heart, and the only way to learn as a newbie is to, sometimes just go through the ringer, sometimes to fail, sometimes just to hear someone else go through it. But again, Cap, I'm happy you're joining. I'm happy you found this information insightful. That's why I love doing this. Also, I just love to run my mouth all day. My poor coworkers have to deal with it. Why are my Humix earnings not showing up in my dashboard earnings? So this is most likely just a delay in reporting. You do want to make sure that you actually are seeing Humix earnings. It can take a couple hundred impressions to see your first earnings come through. But again, this is a newer feature that's technically still in beta, so we still are continuously pushing updates. We want to make sure that we are tracking this correctly. So you can reach out to us in support, and we can just make sure that everything's dialed in and correct. But most likely, this is just going to be a demand that we're going to have to build up over time. That's why you'll see kind of earnings come through the dashboard from there. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's what I was kind of saying. This is kind of like a beta issue, but we are working on basically tracking these impressions and everything correctly. Randall, I'm kind of circling back. This says, hey, Charlie, my friends are saying that my site has too many ads. What can I do? So the easiest, quickest thing you can do, if you also believe that EPMV is hurting because you're showing too many ads, the first thing I would basically do is I would just go to the settings tab, change your optimization goals to user experience focused again. And basically what this will do, this will limit certain like less ads to be shown on the page and basically prioritize the content a bit more. When you are on default, like our recommended one, we do highly consider user experience. That's kind of where Ezoic came to this that's kind of where the business is actually from. Like our AI is focused on user experience because that is very, very important. It is the most important thing here at Ezoic. So even if it is on default, we do highly consider user experience. So I would also maybe try to check out your data and say, actually I noticed compared to before I was using Ezoic, my bounce rates are a bit higher. You can say, maybe I will just run user experience focus from there. And again, this is also your site. So if you're Randall and you're saying, hey, I actually think there's too many ads as well, this is still your domain. You have full control over it. You can do absolutely anything you want with it. So the world is your oyster. We just want to make sure that we give you all the features to run it the way you want. Again, I would suggest keeping it on default, but if you do want less ads to show, the optimization goals is the best way to do it. I recently disapproved. I recently disapproved from Ezoic after using 1 month. If I start a new website and I want to get approved from Ezoic, will Ezoic or AdSense cause a problem for any recent disapprovement? So it depends on what the reason for the disapprovement was. You can always add a new domain. Depending on the reason why you were turned off in Ezoic, you can create a new domain, and then we will always review it and approve if it does meet our requirements. But if you were disabled by AdSense for that's why we disapprove your site. Then you will run into issues with adding another site. But I would just try to avoid whatever kind of caused you to get actually disapproved in the first place. Phil asks, my cache hit rate tanked on July 26th. I have no idea why. No changes when it happened except for just adding more content. Was there some sort of change on Ezoic that has caused this? No. So what this most likely means was, if you were adding content, like new articles, that means your cache, because your cache is basically, it's an equation and you're adding basically more variables that we do have to cache. So if you just add pages, then we will have to build up cache, and that means your total cache hit rate for all your pages, by your visits will be less, which is why your why your cache hit rate might drop. But if you're actually just making also changes to your current articles, you will actually have to clear your cache, which will reset it and drop. So making changes to your content around this time it makes sense that your cache rate actually did drop. But as that was July 26th, we're now on August 18th, your cache hit rate should have already increased and already brought up by then. So if it has not, this is definitely something we can look into. Again, this is where the support knowledge base really comes in handy, because it'll basically, we have articles that will basically cover, how to improve your cache hit rate, and it also covers basically, how to optimize your cache settings to make sure you are going to be getting the highest cache hit rate. Cache hit rate is huge for user experience. It's huge for site speed. It's actually very important. Support life, again, I'm happy to offer these answers. I'm glad you find them insightful, because sometimes I feel like I sound like a ding dong. Sometimes I just rant and vent. Sorry, I was reading Randall's question. If I get disabled by AdSense after approving Ezoic, will Ezoic also disapprove me? Yes, we will. We will basically flag that, trigger it, and then we will actually turn off the site as well. My ad manager invitation expired and I can't resend. Can you help me? Yes. Please reach out to us support right away, and I will actually make sure I just resend the invitation to you right after this. If you're struggling to get into support, I know we were running into some issues with Twist. I will drop my email down in the comment section. Send me a quick email and say, hey, Charlie, I need to get into support so I can get a new invitation sent. I will resend you an invitation, but then I will direct you to Twist directly after that. I don't use my email for support reasons. It's just, I'm not as quick as I am responding on Twist, so it's not anything personal to my email. It's not like I just want to be lazy. It's more the fact that, your solutions and your problems will probably take longer to get solved, and I'd rather have that done in a timely manner through Twist. But your site is not showing on the analytics. Most likely, 99.9% sure, Randall. Clear your cache and cookies, and then open up the analytics in the incognito tab, and then you should be all set from there. That's an issue we have seen, and it's definitely with cache or cookies. But again, if not, I know you have me in Twist. Reach out, and I can help you out with that right after. Also, Randall, thank you for joining the live support. I know we've been working on a handful of things in Twist, but I'm happy you joined. You can see that I am a real person. I'm not some sentient AI communicating with you guys in Twist. I'm a real person just like you all. Does the type of template affect the acceptance of Google Ad Manager because my site is already accepted in Ezoic? So yes, the layout technically does come into play with the Google Ad Manager. Everything that would get your site denied in terms of layout, menu, or anything of that sort will be covered in the article I sent above. Again, Ezoic knowledge base is going to be your best thing here. But I'll attach the article again, and it'll basically go over all the things Google will look for. Because there are a couple of random things that Google does look for that are a bit ridiculous, and I'm not even gonna lie, they're a bit ridiculous, but we gotta play by the rules, and play our cards as we have them. When will the revenue index improve again? Well, as we are moving into Q4, that's when we see the economy kind of always jump up, because we have all the major corporations and marketing agencies basically dumping millions, if not billions of dollars into advertisements. So now is basically the time where you'll basically see the ad revenue index improve again, which basically should be a really good incentive for you to dial in your content, dial in your placeholders now, write your content, get your SEO, get your rankings really high. And then by that time, when Q4 is kind of in full effect and the ad rates are really high, our AI has already learned your site. We're displaying the most ideal layout for your users, and you're seeing really good returns in terms of revenue. But again, to sum it up, basically right now is when you'll see them start to improve over the next couple weeks and months. Yes, you can. You can share your site right here in the comment section. I'll just pull it up really quick, and I'll give you a quick rundown of basically what I see. I would actually love to do this. AB Edit says about basic website is AdSense necessary for this? Can I use the same email for this site which I'm using for Ezoic? Is AdSense necessary? No, but you will need to get approved for Ad Manager. AdSense is not essential, but what it also sounds like is just thinking about using an email for another Ezoic account. You can actually just add that domain to your pre-existing Ezoic account, and then basically reach out to us support, and we can actually just enable enable basic integration, and then we can go from there. But you don't need to create a new account, so that way you can use the same email for Ezoic and Ad Manager and everything. This year's EPMB is lower than last year's EPMB, though my traffic has grown twice. So this is, if your traffic is double times and your EPMB is less, that's definitely something we want to look into. Let's say you have all the same content from last year. Maybe your SEO rankings have dropped off due to the relevancy or the viral content you did have last year, but it doesn't sound like it because you have traffic. But yeah, this is definitely something we can look into. Sometimes, if you have, this is kind of something I see more often than I wish or I would like. But let's say you have articles from last year that are just very relevant, they're doing really good, all of a sudden your EPMB dips. Sometimes your users can actually comment things that would get flagged by our objectionable content flagger. And then basically that'll kill your EPMB, even though that was nothing your fault. So the best thing to do is basically manage your comment section, make sure nothing's getting flagged there. But again, this is definitely something that can help troubleshoot. There's most likely something on the page that has an improper setup, which is why your EPMB is hurting. I used to have Ezoic and revenue was okay, but it noticeably slowed down my site with speed tests to prove it, so I have to leave. Are there any plans to not have publishers have to use Ezoic name servers? So a lot to unpack in this question. Yes, adding ads will have more scripts and everything to run on your site, but actually adding ads will not, it will not hurt your site like if you do not have anything else running on it. What I'm trying to say is there's 10 times out of 10, there's something else enabled on your site in terms, maybe you have 10 to 15 plugins. Maybe you're using Elementor. Maybe your current host is very slow server response time. Maybe your cache hit rate is really low. But what I'm trying to get at is that we actually have hundreds, if not thousands, of domains that have a revenue basically focused setup in terms of showing ads, but also score 100 across all three metrics for Core Web Vitals. So just simply adding ads to your site does not mean that will kill your site speed. Most likely these speed tests that you have to prove it, I'm assuming are like GT metrics and page speed insights. Both of those metrics use lab type settings, like lab type data, and they also use old metrics in order to analyze your site speed. So if it's not analyzing Core Web Vitals, then it's not going to be relevant to what Google and everything else is looking for. But not only that, again, it's going to be testing your pages through a lab setting. So basically you'd be scanning your pages and visiting your page as not a real user. So it could be picking up a bunch of random things. It could be bypassing cache. It could be missing our CDN. So yeah, that's kind of also what I want to get at is you should really be using Leap to analyze your scores. And then right after you make changes in Leap, like it seems you're on the newer side, those changes will not reflect right away because Leap does use real user data. So if you do make changes, it will take 2-3 weeks time if you have a small site to actually see those changes take place. You can run a lab type test through Leap, like you do with page speed insights and everything, but it will not be as real and relevant to what your actual users are seeing, which is important. So patience in this aspect is huge. And to have any plans of our publishers not using Ezoic name servers, actually using our CDN does improve site speed, whether you believe it or not. There's a lot of data that points to this. But yeah, and using our CDN, there's so many benefits, and actually site speed is one of them. This is most likely just a mix up with your setup. Jax, I will highly, highly, highly suggest reaching out to me or us in support. And there's 100% something that I can find in your setup that will improve site speed while also showing more ads. And I'm very, very confident of that, especially using our CDN. I'm 100% confident in that. So yeah, again, if you do want to leave and not use that, that's totally okay. I'm not here saying you can't. Of course you can do that. But I'm very, very confident again that there's something I can find in your setup that will improve site speed and allow you to show ads and use Ezoic. Suggest best theme for earnings. And then your next question was how many time it takes to. If you want to follow up on the second question, it seems like you might have accidentally prematurely hit enter. But to answer yours question here, actually the data that we found, there's actually a handful of really simple themes that actually perform best in terms of site speed and user experience. Trying to find the ones, the article. But for instance, things like but like 2021, Gutenberg is a really good one as well. But yeah, hold on. Where is this article? Oh, here we go. Boom. This is exactly. I would highly suggest this read because this is a super good one. But basically, to summarize it, yeah, Gutenberg is one of them. But basically, some of these simpler themes just have less to load. So of course, we're going to go back to that equation of less to load, the faster the site. So again, 2021 is a really good one. What else do we have in here? We call them certified fast. I love that. But yeah, Carbonate Master, Gutenberg, Total, Zakra, and 2021 are the ones basically we would suggest. And then also this article goes into basically why these basic themes are actually better and faster. So I would definitely check that out and make the transition if you guys are down to. AB Edit says, can we use a new domain and redirect all pages of old domain to new domain if the old domain has a history of being disabled in AdSense? This sounds like a bad idea. If the old domain was getting disabled in AdSense, I don't see why the content in the new one would not get disabled. If it was terms of traffic, you should actually just use the same domain, work on improving your traffic, and then reaching out to Google and actually just reverting that disablement. Because this actually will not get around your issues and only create more for you. This will actually make you do a lot of extra work, but then just get, you'll run into the same issues. So I would, save yourself some time and just get the current disablement overturned, appeal it through AdSense, improve SEO, or improve the content, and then go from there. How many times to approve Ad Manager domain and don't have to do anything? Yes, you have to make sure that your site complies with everything that Ad Manager looks for. And depending on what your site is and how it's set up, it could be one time, it could be 2 tries, 3 tries. You just want to make sure that everything that I sent that is covered in that article above is basically found on your domain. Jax, if you're okay with it, I do want to go cover this question a bit more. Not exactly, but I do want to basically show maybe the things you'll actually look for when using Leap. This site does have a really good setup as it is. So, but basically I want to show you how I would actually go through Leap and actually kind of analyze my core web vitals and my site speed. So first off, go to the speed tab of your dashboard. Actually, step 0 before step 1, check out your cache hit rate. If your cache hit rate is low, this is going to be the quickest, fastest change you can make in order to increase core web vital scores, especially if LCP is your biggest hindrance. So as you can see, CLS for desktop is actually the biggest issue, but LCP for mobile is actually not great as well. And the best thing you can do is actually optimize your cache hit rate here, and that will help with your scores a lot. But you can actually click directly through here, or you can go to the speed tab of your dashboard. And basically, again, these recommendations here are super valid. So the way Leap is designed, it's basically a fully transparent tool. There's no bias. There's nothing implemented into Leap as a tool set that will basically flag something that's not, pulled off straight data or facts. So what I'm trying to get at is if Leap finds something that hinders site speed, regardless of what it is, a plugin, a font, your host or your theme, this recommendation section will flag anything that is hindering site speed. So if you have a list of 20, sometimes 30 things, you should definitely go through and say, hey, whatever plugin I'm using, it shows has a huge negative impact. You can view your alternatives, and you can either delete that plugin if it's not essential to your setup, or you can just replace it with an alternative that will actually flag and say, hey, these are actually faster, these are actually better. But as you guys can see, some of these things do get flagged. But sorry, to go back to basically what I was trying to get at is that Leap will flag anything that hinders site speed. So you should take these recommendations highly into consideration. The next thing I will do is I'll basically find the metric that is actually hurting my Core Web Vitals, which, as you guys can see, is labeled here as your CLS for desktop. What I can do is I can click through, and then I can basically see the changes of basically how it's going. So it seems like the owner of the site was kind of making a couple changes, and the most recent ones you're actually seeing is dip down back into the green. This is kind of gonna go on to more of why I was saying patience is pretty needed for this, because if you make changes here, we'll have to wait for users to actually visit your pages to pull the new data and then update from here. You can actually see then your worst performing pages for CLS. This is basically gonna be the lab type setting I was saying. You can basically scan your site. So what I would do is I'll hit this, click in Ezoic Lab, test an Ezoic Lab. I'm going to bypass the first one because it's the home page. But yeah, this will be basically the lab setting. So this is basically not exactly how, but it's similar to how it's like page speed insights will basically test your pages, which is not the best way to go because your actual user data is going to be the best way forward. We'll just allow this to run for a bit. Cool. Oh, never mind. Not cool yet. Cool. So when we actually are running a page, it seems like the most recent changes that they made really did help with your scores, which is why I'm trying to say that sometimes patience is kind of the best step forward here, because whatever changes this publisher made recently, they're actually helping their scores a lot, which is why you saw the tail end of that graph starting to go down, and which is why we're most likely just going to need to wait for the scores to reflect. But even if you go into it, this will actually show the potential optimizations. So this is actually showing that all of the features are actually disabled. So this goes to show that all the features in Leap are disabled. We still have ads running on the site, and it's still giving you a CLS score of 0.01. So this goes to show that just adding ads to your site, if you have a super light setup in terms of everything else, like as you can see here, this publisher is not running barely any features on it. They're still running tons of ads, and their scores are going to reflect that. So just simply adding ads does not mean you need to basically point to correlation of slower site speed and adding ads to your site. There's still a ton of things you can do to actually optimize this. As you can see here, we are having Leap getting set up for this customer because as you can see in their optimizations settings that they didn't have anything enabled, and they're still returning that score. But that's basically what I would do from my end to basically analyze your Core Web Vital scores. And then go from there. And then, yeah, this will basically flag all the elements on the page that are actually hindering CLS the most. This is pretty common, the H1, as it's just, the biggest, largest font. Sometimes it's other things like your href here. It's redirecting to an index. But yeah, that's kind of the best way we would do that. I can do another walkthrough if you guys want to, but that's just something we see a ton in support, and it's a huge misconception. There are a lot of things we can do. You do have to, so if you do get denied and you make changes to your domain, you do need to resubmit it through the dashboard. It will not automatically be sent in, because if we were to automatically send them in and you guys were to make changes, Google would freak out and start to auto deny the pages. Good question here again. It kind of is going to go into the same equation of adding more features and scripts and stuff to run on the page will slow down the site speed. But as you guys saw with the other publisher, the one we actually went through, does actually I'm not sure if they do have videos showing. But what I'm trying to get at is that a lot of our publishers that have 100 for Core Web Vital scores do have videos showing. So videos might slow down your page a bit, but there's just so many things to do to keep your page super quick and super fast to kind of counter this. That way you can still have ads, still have videos, and still have a really fast site. Cap says, glad you went over cache hit rate. Mine is in the red. We'll use help articles to fix ASAP. Luckily, when my revenue went down a lot this month, I'm updating some older blog articles as well. Awesome. So if you're updating old articles, your cache probably will dip again. But I did add the improving your cache hit rate article above. But do go to our ezoicsupport.com if you have not, or excuse me, support.ezoic.com. And then basically make the changes to make sure you're optimized. And then once you've updated all of your pages and you've optimized your cache hit rate, the best thing to do is to actually just let your cache build over time. Don't make any changes. Don't clear your cache because it will need to build up over time. But yeah, if your cache is in red, let's get that dialed in as soon as possible because you'll see a ton of good benefits from that going forward. So if you are seeing that your pending status for your domain, sorry, my website is still in the pending status after 1 week for Google Ad Manager domain approval. What should I do? There's actually nothing you can do but just to wait. These domain reviews can take up to 2 weeks, but they normally are done far sooner. The reason you're probably still seeing a delay is because at the beginning of August, Google actually saw a huge backlog in the reviews. This is when our lead Jan gets to go to Google and yell at them and say, hey guys, step it up. We got thousands of sites that need to review. Clearly you guys are lacking. We track this data, of course, so we can show that to them as well. But Google did go through a bit of a backlog, but they're slowly starting to catch up. So I would expect your domain to be reviewed any day now, or any hour, or any second. Enabling Humix does not have an effect on AdSense approval or Ad Manager approval. But yeah, no, it does not. You can actually add your site right here in the comment section if you're comfortable with it. If not, find my email that I sent above and just say, hey, Charlie, I am struggling to find where I go for support. And I'll basically show you how to get to Twist. And then I'll show you how to post a thread, and then we can help you from there. The reason why I advocate for Twist so heavily is because those channels are being covered basically 24/7. We have someone on our team working on Saturdays now. So Taylor will have you covered basically for all of our PST hours. We currently have 3 people in there right now. The UK just did 9 hours in Twist before us. And then even after this, we do have people in other regions of the country also managing these channels. So the reason why I say, don't email me only is because I might only check my email a couple times a day, but Twist is actually being covered by 10 people every day, all across different regions. So you'll just get a bunch more support. I'm from Bangladesh. Why Bangladesh wire transfer not available? Only AdSense has it. So we actually do have, wire transfer through Wise available. I can give you the payment options article, but you should be able to wire transfer regardless. And if it's not offered for Bangladesh and I'm giving you false information, I'm sorry, but I do believe you should be good. Okay, next question. Could you please explain in short about the Humix feature in Ezoic? So yeah, basically Humix is kind of like our global video network, and it allows you guys to basically increase traffic and revenue by using these digital videos. Basically, you can upload videos to basically this network, and you can actually show these videos across different pages. Other publishers can use yours. But that's basically how it works. Is you basically upload all your videos to Humix, and then you and other publishers can actually add your videos to your pages. That's basically what it is in short summary. But we do go into this quite a bit deeper in the article I just sent. That way you can just read through a bit more. Mark says, I will support you on behalf of Charlie if you are in the African time region. I think the future goal for our Access Now team is to basically cover this. So basically we have people in every single time zone. But if I'm not mistaken, I am a bit geographically challenged. I'll make fun of myself firsthand because I'm not perfect, but I'm pretty sure that you guys have the same time zone as our team. So I guess it depends where in Africa you actually are. But it will be covered by our team in Europe. So I think mostly where we might be lacking is on the farther eastern regions. Maybe we'll set up an HQ in Australia so we can cover those hours. But I do love that. But at the same time, we do love this and we want everyone to support each other. That's also why we find Twist the most beneficial because, again, it's open-ended and you guys can kind of work together. So we will go in and answer every single question and help every single one of you guys out. Well, let's say, Mark, you had a random issue at, while we're, 1 a.m. or whatever. Well, technically our UK team would be on. But what I'm trying to say is you can actually work collaboratively together in Twist. So, Mark, let's say you had an issue with an origin error. And let's say I was another publisher in the same channel. I could say, hey, Mark, I actually had the same issue. All I had to do was whitelist my IPs at my host. Whitelist the Ezoic IPs at my host. And that's kind of how I navigated this error. So that's kind of why we're trying to get at, we really want to push Twist heavily is because it is an open thing. Sometimes publishers will post a thread and say, hey, just leave this open. I'm curious of how other publishers are using, keyword, research to basically improve SEO. And we can basically leave it open-ended and you guys can all work together on the same topics. Matt Hensart says, hi, if I change my WordPress theme and use the same Ezoic placeholders on the new theme, will that affect my Ezoic earnings? Technically, no. If you hard code basically your placeholders to your site before you change your themes, your earnings should be totally the same. Considering the layout should be just about the same. But yeah, if you do not hard code your placeholders before you transfer your themes, some of the placeholders might get lost in translation. So you might actually see an EPMV dip. But there's a lot of things you can do to combat this. So again, I'm going to direct you guys back to support.ezoic. And because we have another article that covers this exactly. We actually have 3 or 4 of them that go over in different ways. But the first one I'll send is basically how to hard code your existing placeholders before changing themes. And as you guys can tell, for basically every single question you guys have asked, of course I can answer, but we also have written articles that go over this into depth. So sometimes I ramble and I don't use the best word choice and I sound a little ridiculous, understandably, which is why we have these articles written out. So you guys do kind of see everything full on throughout and you can kind of go at your own pace. You can reread things. You can follow firsthand in the dashboard. But yeah. How can I get into Twist? So once you integrate, you actually do get an email invitation to Twist. It'll go to your Ezoic email that you signed up with. And you can basically use that invite, click on it there, basically download the app, and then you'll basically see that you're already in these channels. And all you need to do is create a thread. You guys are going to hate me because I'm going to go back to support.ezoic. And we have an article written out of exactly how to use Access Twist. See, I'm kind of beating a dead bush with the support.ezoic.com, but everything you guys basically need is in there. And as you guys can tell, it covers all the questions. If you guys are still struggling to get an invitation to Twist, if you're really struggling on how to get there, I'll give you guys my email, and you guys can actually email me only to help get directed to Twist or to support, and I'll do that for you. Constantine, welcome back. He says, hello, Charlie. I would like to ask if I can use one AdSense account for multiple website on Ezoic for mediation. Thanks. Yes. So if you have, you have your Ezoic account, you have 10 domains, you have one AdSense account, same email, all the domains are approved under the same one. You can actually use mediation through the same email. No issue at all. Cool. All right. Well, I'm all caught up on questions. Again, this is my email. I will help you guys get directed to Twist if you're having issues or if you're just confused on how to get there. But I do really want to say thank you all for joining. I know we were out last week, but I'll be here for the next, following weeks without any issues. Knock on wood, everyone's healthy and stays good. But I do really, again, just want to say thank you guys for joining. I love doing this. This is like quickly turned into my favorite part of the week. It gives you a chance to just see I'm a real person just like you. I'm a real website publisher just like you. I do really want to do everything I can to help you all, which is basically why I'll sit in here and run my mouth for 2 hours. Because I can and I will. But honestly, I think, you guys here in the Access Now program are kind of like, you are the early pioneers of Ezoic. I think the Access Now program is really going to take over because we give you guys basically full access to everything that Ezoic has, and basically asks for nothing in return. You don't need minimum page views, you don't need anything, you don't even need to monetize right away. You can basically use our caching, you can use our free SSL, you can use our free WordPress hosting, you can use our free SEO tools. We have content week, we have SEO week, we have content month. So we really want to just basically give you guys the platform to do absolutely everything in order to grow your domain. All the avenues that we're missing in order to help grow your domain are basically going to be our future projects because, ideally we want someone that can come with either a brand new site or even somewhat of a blank site, sign up to Ezoic, use our features for free, use our CDN for free, and that won't change. We're not going to change it to, you got to subscribe to get our free SSL, you got to subscribe to get our free hosting. That's really not how Ezoic works. Dwayne, our CEO, and Dan, our CTO, and Tyler, our CMO, and all these other people will tell you firsthand that it is not Ezoic's direction. They're not looking to suck out every last dollar. They're really just going to do everything in their power, to basically give you guys the best benefit, which is why I sit here and I do somewhat passionately talk about it because it's really amazing. You don't really see many other, companies in the website publishing, world, or even any companies outside of the website publishing world do this. A lot of people come and say, it's great. People think, Ezoic is just another ad network. We're not. We're not at all. We're just an all-in-one, platform for publishers to use to, again, grow their site, which is why the Access Now program is so beyond ideal. But yeah, Constantine says, would appreciate one day to see automatic backup from Ezoic hosting. So you're 100% right, and that is definitely something we're working towards. But right now, since our WordPress hosting and will be, it's basically all free. It's so much storage, and we, while we can provide like short-term backups, it's basically have to be self-serve from your end. So we're not going to say you can't use WordPress hosting, but all we're going to say is, use Updraft Plus or use one of these other plugins, just, back up your site every time you make changes. I would say even if you were using a host that does do automatic backups, I don't think it'd be a bad idea just to back it up on a plugin of your own in case things do go haywire, which they have not, but they obviously can, in some random ways. But I do think, that's a great idea, Constantine. That is definitely something we're to consider and do and kind of do going forward, maybe. I don't want to put words in the hosting's mouth, but as of right now, this is not a feature, but it's a great request. I'll actually hang around for a couple minutes if you guys, I do want to use this time if you guys can say, hey, I love this about the program. I hate this about the program. I want more of this. I want less of this. I want this feature. That's also why I think Ezoic is honestly the best from an unbiased standpoint, because we're not a massive corporation, We're still around like the 300 employees around the world. So if you guys do want something to change, I can literally go walk outside. I have access to basically everything, and I can change things as you guys wish. So it's not like I have to go through a hierarchy of, oh, can I do this? The publishers want this. It's like, if you guys find something beneficial and we see the same value for you guys, we'll just go ahead and start working on it right away. We don't have to, ask for permission. We can basically just, move things as fast as we want. But yeah, I'm glad you guys, sending some positive comments, some nice things. So I do really appreciate it. King of Access Now talks. I think I'm just good at rambling and running my mouth, whether that's a good or bad thing. But I do love doing these talks. I do love, talking to you guys. But yeah, again, also, if you hate something, don't hold back. I'm not sensitive. I understand that you guys can give constructive criticism. So let us have it. I'd rather you say, hey, I actually really hate this, even if it comes off a little bit mean. I'm not going to take it personally. I'd rather just you verbalize it, because if something about the onboarding process or about the setup process was annoying for you, there's probably 99% chance it was annoying for someone else. So I'd rather you say it and just let us know. I'm not going to take it personally, I promise. I'd rather just, iron things out so it's easier for everyone. But yeah, I also will be, I'll be in Twist for basically the rest of the day, for basically another 8 hours or so, 7 hours, or however many hours it takes. So I will be in there the rest of the day. If you guys say, hey, I actually just thought of a feature request, 5 minutes after we ended, I would like this, or, you can always just offer your criticism or your insight from there. But yeah, no, thank you, Mark. You guys are the best. My job and Access Now would be nothing without you guys. You guys are willing to step up and say, hey, I can see Ezoic does actually provide tons of value, and you're willing to put your domain out there and say, hey, let's give this a shot. And we really do appreciate that. And we will do absolutely everything in our power to help you guys succeed in that manner. Because personally, I think some of my favorite thing is seeing you guys, you guys do put in the effort, because, website publishers, something I found is that, like, you guys are very determined people. You don't have someone above you saying, hey, meet this requirement, meet this. You guys are there saying, hey, like, I'm going to put in the time, I'm going to put in the effort. And so we really do love working with people like you guys, because you guys are so determined and you guys have really good work ethic. But the best part is to basically see publishers come into the Access Now program, maybe with 2 or 3 or maybe 1 really small site. And then, within a couple months, they could easily be in level 3, earning a couple $100 a month or even more. Like, we've had publishers, we had one income school housing publisher basically come through. And then this is, of course, on the far end of scales, but he was earning thousands of dollars in a day, and still is. Right now, he's our highest earning publisher that's come through the Access Now program. But we've also had hundreds of publishers that have come through, done 5 cents a day, and 6 months down the road with constant effort, working on SEO, working on writing new content. They're now level 3 publishers doing, $400 a month. So the opportunity is there. All we want to do is just give you all the resources and all the support to get there. But yeah, you guys are the best. I'm happy you guys found this, very helpful. Hopefully I did enough of the walkthrough, because I know you guys wanted me to do some walkthroughs to the dashboard, so hopefully that was more beneficial. Maybe I can change up basically what I go through next week. I just feel like, site speed and monetization are kind of the 2 avenues you guys like to see most in terms of walking through. Looks like I'm about to get, there you go, you can come in, Jack. I will wrap this up. We're now 2 hours deep. Jack's currently dancing in the corner, so I'm going to log off and dance with them. But again, thank you guys for joining. Have a great one. I'll see you in Twist, or I'll see you next week.